Leon found himself reincarnated into a fantasy world. Instead of a simple lamp, a grand chandelier hung above him, casting a warm glow. Candles adorned the walls, replacing the modern LED lights he was accustomed to. It became clear to Leon that he had entered a realm that lagged behind his previous world in terms of civilization. As he lay in his mother's loving arms, a maid stood nearby, watching over them. In his previous life, Leon had been an orphan who met an untimely demise due to overwork. However, his new surroundings indicated that he was born into a wealthy household. His enchanting mother assured him of a comfortable and prosperous future. The years swiftly passed, and as Leon grew older, he climbed onto a rickety chair to gaze out of the window. The world beyond confirmed his suspicion. It was truly a different realm. Witnessing Leon's precarious perch, the maid hurriedly rushed to his side, gently lifting him into her arms. She explained the danger of standing on such an unstable chair. It was during this time that Leon discovered his family's noble status. They belonged to the Grand Duchy within the kingdom. Specifically, Leon was the son of the Grand Duke of Dragonia, within the Kingdom of Lionheart. At the tender age of 8, Leon received his first sword, marking the beginning of his training as a swordsman. His eyes brimmed with excitement as he examined the gleaming weapon. Alongside his martial training, Leon wondered if he could harness something beyond his physical abilities, perhaps aura or chi. His mentor, Sir Gothic, a knight sent from the palace to instruct him, affirmed that such potential existed. Sir Gothic attributed it to the will of the goddess and emphasized the immense value in training Leon. The young protagonist, bearing the name Leon, eagerly embraced the opportunity to be taught by Sir Gothic. However, as time passed, Leon began to realize that the training was far from enjoyable. It bordered on torture and child abuse. Sir Gothic, a stern and unyielding mentor, spared no effort in imparting his knowledge to Leon. To be a knight of the kingdom, you have to complete quests by training, through experience and honor, and being chosen by the Holy Grail to drink its holy water. Leon, as the son of Dragonia, he needed to know everything to be a Grand Duke on top of his training. As he practiced with Sir Gothic, he reminded Leon to always pay attention to his opponent until the very end. During one intense session, Sir Gothic delivered a powerful blow that sent Leon flying backward, causing his sword to shatter upon impact. Exhausted and trembling, Leon collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Years rolled by, and Leon, now 16 years old, embarked on a journey through the world, braving the rain. His aim was to be recognized by the deity and earn the esteemed title of Holy Knight. Suddenly, smoke billowed from a nearby forest. A village was under attack by orcs. The flames of destruction engulfed the settlement. And despite the valiant efforts of the knights, the orcs outnumbered them. In the face of seemingly inevitable defeat, the knights resorted to fervent prayers as the orcs walked towards them. In that decisive moment, a voice calls out to the orcs, calling them trash, catching their attention. Leon swiftly intervened, cutting down an orc and effectively ending the attack. 20 years later, Leon finally encountered the deity he had sought for so long. He looked at her with eyes of wonder, admiring her beauty, and seeing why she was called a goddess, as she calls out to him. She entrusted him with a task, a test of his mettle and fate, which Leon accepted without a single thought as he kneeled before her. After accepting the challenge, Leon dedicated years of tireless effort, eventually ascending to the ranks of a holy knight. From that point forward, Leon dedicated himself to a single purpose, eradicating any obstacle that stood in his path. He tore through legions of orcs, vanquished goblins, and crushed the forces of evil that plagued the land. Over time, Leon's ruthless prowess earned him the title of a war knight, giving him the power to gather other knights, as he slaughtered over 700,000 orcs, even including women and children. Despite his deep-seated hatred for the orcs, Leon managed to maintain a stoic smile. Now 35 years old, Leon faced new challenges. The former king had fallen in battle against an archdemon summoned by the Empire, leaving Leon to contend with the rising menace of demons. Orcs had already given him headaches, and now these malevolent creatures roamed freely, spreading fear and terror. In an effort to restore peace to these troubled times, many sought solace in their faith and belief in the gods. Leon held disdain for the mages of the kingdom who had inadvertently summoned the archdemon, needing them to elect a holy knight to be the successor of King Lionheart, who died with honor. It was due to his unwavering dedication, trust, and honor that the deity chose Leon to be the new king. Accepting the honor bestowed upon him, Leon made a solemn vow not to forsake his loyal knights and followers. He received the sacred treasure Lionheart of the goddess, consuming it to further enhance his abilities. Swearing to protect the Holy Grail. Leon's story unfolded as he became the Grand Duke Dragonia and king over the Lionheart Kingdom. 80 years elapsed, during which countless events transpired. 3 major wars ravaged the land, each involving the orcs. A lowly goblin rose to become an archdemon, and the kingdom faced even graver perils. In the midst of these dire circumstances, a knight informed Leon about the kingdom's school of black magic, conducting perilous experiments. Leon realized that the kingdom's actions had inadvertently played into the hands of a nefarious cult residing in the north. Rallying his knights, Leon resolved to conquer this newfound threat. 96 years had passed since Leon's birth, and the bastions of the kingdom had finally accomplished their grim objective. They stood amidst a ritual, where the emperor sacrificed 3 million lives, beseeching the fulfillment of his desperate wish to cheat death. Alas, his plea went unanswered as he perished alongside the 3 million innocent civilians, and in the heart of the capital, the Lord of Chaos was summoned. Leon then gathers his knights, and took out the holy sword, that was still not dry from the previous war, from the orcs' last years. 121 years after Leon's birth, he embarked on a journey to the capital. While he exerted his utmost effort, the world around him crumbled. Despite his hopes for a different outcome, Leon found himself holding a doll, a symbol of his unwavering commitment to vanquish evil. He had devoted every ounce of his being to eradicate the darkness that plagued the continent. But fate proved unyielding. Surrounded by fallen warriors, Leon clenched his fist, lost in introspection. A knight approached him, pulling him back to reality. Leon, with a heavy heart, spoke of his fallen father, honoring his memory and expressing pride in his honorable demise. He declared that his father would now feast with the gods. Casting his gaze upon his troops, Leon questioned if they, too, could hear the haunting cries of evil that swept across the land. With an impassioned speech, he bolstered their morale as the forces of evil descended upon their fortress. He asked them once again if they could hear the voices of those who had lost their loved ones to the darkness. Fueling their rage, Leon prepared his troops for a final battle. As Leon stood there, the doll he had picked up lay solemnly at a grave. He reminded his troops that, as long as they held onto their honor, they could never be defeated. In a display of his magical prowess, Leon summoned his weapon and readied himself for the impending clash. The goddess assured him that she would remain by his side until the end. The flag bearing the emblem of the Duke fluttered proudly in the air. As Leon called upon the name of Lionheart and led his troops forward, they fought valiantly against the endless hordes of demons that plagued the earth. On the battlefield, dragon-like creatures and otherworldly beings clashed, while barbarians, enslaved and forced into servitude, served as mere cannon fodder. Alongside them, civilians armed with makeshift barricades and shields fought alongside honorable knights, sacrificing their lives in defense of their homeland. Amidst this chaos, Leon, the chosen one among the gods in the holy temple, demonstrated unwavering resolve. He tore through thousands of demon lords and archdemons, showcasing his holy strength. 217 years went by, winter had yet to end, as Leon continued to fight the demons by himself for years to come. 256 years after his birth, Leon eradicated the last remaining demon portal, sealing away any possibility of escape for the demonic horde. He turns to the demons, telling them that they were not stuck in this world with him. The demons trembled in fear as Leon declared his unwavering resolve to annihilate every last one of their kind. Without hesitation, Leon embarked on his mission, wasting no time in dismantling the demonic forces. 300 years after his birth, he single-handedly vanquished a colossal demon, disposing of it within seconds. A group of astonished onlookers gathered near the fallen body, perplexed by the swift turn of events. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they look at the decapitated head of the demon. Their collective gaze shifted towards Leon, who radiated a yellow aura, an undeniable symbol of his power. They wondered who this extraordinary individual could be. Leon, now among mortals once more, introduced himself as the King of Lionheart and the envoy of the Holy Temple. The humans stood in awe, staring at his naked presence, as Leon told them his name, Leon Dragonia Lionheart. A gate ominously opened in the midst of Seoul, its nature eluding classification. The Korea Hunter Association and the World Hunter Association swiftly sent out a request for assistance to the largest guilds. However, due to the lack of a thorough assessment of the portal's difficulty, their plea for help was met with refusal. Eventually, it was decided that a team from the Korea Hunter Association, resembling a suicide mission, would be sent in. The members of the association couldn't help but display their fear in the face of this perilous undertaking. As they entered the portal, the sky itself seemed drenched in blood, and they found Leon standing naked. The ground was littered with the lifeless corpses of thousands of demons. Shaking off her daze, Hari snapped back to reality. Another man named Kim Jinu handed her a cup of coffee. He inquired about what had transpired. Hari expressed her disbelief, stating that no one would believe what they had witnessed. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Jinsu calmly acknowledged that such an outcome was to be expected. It became apparent that the portal they had faced was likely an black-ranked black demon portal, possibly even harboring a great demon. The fact that they had returned unaided by other guilds was a true miracle in itself, and the daunting task of cleaning up the aftermath seemed unimaginable. All of this was attributed to their encounter with Leon. Leon, now fully dressed, sat at a desk in an interrogation room. It had become clear to those observing that he was a survivor from within the depths of the portal. Occasionally, individuals managed to survive within the worlds contained within these portals. For the past 30 years, these portals had been appearing randomly across the globe, always depicting a world on the verge of destruction or one already engulfed in chaos. Some fortunate survivors, like Leon, made their way back to Earth, carrying with them the incredible strength they had gained in the demon world. The government made it a priority to provide for and recruit these survivors, understanding the significance of their abilities in order to scout them. Hari emphasized the need to recruit Leon due to his incredible strength, a sentiment that Jinsu wholeheartedly agreed with. Even an A-ranked hunter would have to risk their life when facing a high-ranking demon, yet Leon had effortlessly defeated one with a single strike. It was a monster that even S-ranked hunters would fear. He didn't just kill it. He completely overpowered it. However, Jinsu expressed concern regarding the cultural implications of Leon's presence. Hari, less worried about such matters, claimed she could sense something in Leon's voice. In a sudden outburst, Leon's anger reached its peak, causing the glass surrounding him to shatter. The shards scattered, interrupting their conversation, leaving Hari and Jinsu amazed by Leon's display of power. Enveloped in a yellow aura, Leon's rage became apparent. Sarcastically, Jinsu echoed Hari's previous words, while she, in turn, echoed Jinsu's sentiments. 15 minutes earlier, a camera had recorded the conversation, while an agent diligently took notes on a flat piece of paper. This agent engaged in a conversation with Leon, an experience that felt unfamiliar to him. Memories of his past life as an orphan in his 20s, succumbing to exhaustion, and being reborn as a king for over a century flooded Leon's mind. After conquering the world of demons, he hunted demons for 200 years. Despite his actual age of 300 years, he was relieved to still have memories of this place. The agent mustered his courage and addressed Leon, who maintained a focused expression. Leon saw no advantage in revealing his origin from Earth and instead insisted on being addressed as His Majesty, belittling the agent as a mere peasant. This unexpected response somewhat surprised and shocked the agent, evident by the beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The agent played along, offering apologies and continuing to address Leon as His Majesty. Leon contemplated whether the agent was genuinely kind or if this was how all survivors would be treated by the government. The agent proceeded to explain to Leon that their world had made contact with his and inquired if he had indeed defeated all the demons. Leon confirmed his triumph, prompting him to question whether the agent had already forgotten. Perplexed, the agent expressed his confusion, and Leon proceeded to clarify that he had eradicated all the evil and protected the honor of the knights. With conviction, Leon demanded that the agent become his temporary secretary. The agent, recollecting the situation, once again found himself covered in beads of sweat. Understanding that there would likely be cultural differences that came with addressing a royal figure. Amidst their conversation, Leon expressed his hunger, which compelled the agent to swiftly order food. Additionally, Leon yearned to understand the world he now found himself in and the extent of its changes in recent years. The agent began explaining that portals had emerged worldwide 30 years ago, unleashing monsters and demons into their realm. Following these incidents, the world had remained in a perpetual state of alertness. After numerous defeats, it became apparent that each portal held its own theme and quest that needed to be fulfilled. If the quest went uncompleted, monsters would continue to emerge from the portal, attacking Earth. Just as the agent began his explanation, there was a knock on the door, prompting a pause. The agent excused himself momentarily to receive the food. Leon contemplated the stark contrast between his world, where demons multiplied like mushrooms after rain, and Earth, where portals with distinct themes and quests existed. It seemed as if people were training themselves through these tasks. Returning to the conversation, the agent, now addressing Leon as His Majesty, informed him that the food had arrived. As Leon glanced down at the steaming bowl of food, he recognized it as his favorite meal from his previous life on Earth. However, he suppressed his cravings, aware that he must not indulge in his former favorite food. Inquiring about the nature of the dish, he remarked that it seemed fit for a commoner. In a fit of rage, Leon shouted and pounded on the table. He screams at the agent, yelling how they dare to serve a peasant's dish, as the agent cowers in fear. Leon was a royal from another world, the proxy for the gods. As he tells the agent to get out of the room, he held multiple titles, being the incarnation of the history of the 300-year war itself. Leon thinks of the place as a mess, believing it was because there was no proper religion faith. The delectable food that had been placed before him remained untouched on the floor, its steam slowly dissipating. Before him lay a juicy steak, expertly cooked and accompanied by a sprinkle of rosemary and a few slices of lemon. Leon indulged in the succulent T-bone steak and complimented it with a sip of a vintage red wine from the year 1933. Hari, appreciative that Leon at least enjoyed the meal, Jinsu suggested that she should enter first. Jinsu's suggestion startled her as she realized she couldn't speak the ancient language, mentioning that Leon seemed more interested in Hari than the others. He further noted that Hari was the only one who had received a compliment from Leon. Nervously, Hari opened the door to the conference room and greeted Leon, who wiped his mouth and recognized her as the woman with the sword whom he had saved. He requested that she take a seat. Observing the scene from the surveillance room, Hari suddenly signaled to Jinsu, causing beads of sweat to form on Jinsu's face. Inquiring about the food, Hari asked Leon if he liked it, to which Leon replied that it wasn't bad. Leon then explained that it wasn't the food itself that made it difficult for them, but rather their attitude toward a king. Hari's face turned blue with realization, expressing her lack of awareness and regret for not showing him enough respect. Leon reassured her that it was all right and politely asked for her name. As Leon's eyes sparkled with focus, he inquired whether the demons had also appeared on Earth. Hari, aware of her task to recruit Leon, confirmed his question, determined to win him over for her country in the 21st century. She believed that gaining survivors like Leon was a crucial factor that could potentially lead to a world war, regardless of how much they offered in return as long as they didn't join another country. Leon, still focused, stated that as long as he lived in this world, he had the duty to take to the battlefield as an honorable knight, for fighting was the only righteous path. Hari's excitement grew, as it almost sounded like Leon was considering joining the Hunter Association. Leon then clarified that a king couldn't simply be a soldier of a nation, therefore, he desired to establish a knight order. Hari was left speechless, nodding in agreement. She inquired about the response of the higher-ups to this matter. Jin-Soo explained that they couldn't say anything, as they had to provide Leon with as much support as he needed. Jin-Soo expressed his amazement that Leon hadn't chosen to go to another country or join a larger guild. Hari, feeling somewhat dejected at the thought of the government having to bow down to him, couldn't help but feel angry. She voiced her frustration, citing other guilds that flaunted their strength and wealth, particularly mentioning the Phoenix Guild as an example. Suddenly, the ground shook, and an alarm blared. Hari and Jin-Soo received a message on their phones, alerting them that a portal was on the verge of breaking out, releasing monsters. Jin-Soo explained that if the demons were to appear in that location, they would destroy at least half of the grain storage and production. Hari insisted that the portal needed to be closed, specifically in the area controlled by the Phoenix Guild. She believed that it shouldn't be a difficult task for their S-rank leader. However, Jin-Soo had a different perspective and believed that their leader, Youngwon SSI, had other plans in mind. He expressed the urgency to go quickly and stop the impending disaster. Meanwhile, Leon overheard the conversation and realized that they were in trouble. He understood that things were different in this world compared to his own. Controlling the flow of his yellow aura from his hand, he wondered if they would be able to handle the situation. As a result, a connection was established, and a castle came into view, with a woman inside. She turned around, revealing a beautiful smile. Above the fields, an orange portal circled, indicating the imminent danger. Lee Yong-won, the guildmaster of the Phoenix Guild, was already present at the scene as Hari and Jin-Soo asked him what was happening. But the Phoenix Guild remained relaxed as Hari and Jin-Soo stared at them in anger for not doing anything. Jin-Soo's desperation was evident, while Yong-won wore a dirty grin on his face. Hari expressed her anger, emphasizing that the Phoenix Guild already enjoyed numerous privileges as a large guild, yet they were willing to allow such calamity due to unmet demands. Hari confronted Yong-won, the leader of the Phoenix Guild, in a fit of fury, questioning if he understood the consequences if the plants became infected. Yong-won simply laughed in a derisive manner, claiming he had no idea, and that his guild members were injured. Instead, they will try tomorrow. This frustrates Hari as she yells at him as Jin-Soo holds her back. Yong-won simply laughs at her, reminding Hari that he had previously stated that justice was merely strength and money. "You re quite shallow and old-fashioned," Leon said as he appears. Hari called Leon by his name by accident instead of Your Majesty. As Leon tells her he only permitted her to call him by his title. Yong-won yells at Leon, asking who he think he was, as Leon tells him to be quiet. Angry veins visibly pulsated on Leon's face. "How dare someone speak as lowly as you speak?" Leon shouted. Yong-won thought to himself about how someone can talk like this to an S-rank in guildmaster. Yong-won was on the verge of attacking Leon, but was halted by Hari, who implored him to stop. She explained that Leon was a survivor, which left Yong-won in a state of shock. He promptly bowed before Leon, acknowledging his status as a survivor. Yong-won, curious about which guild Leon belonged to, was met with Leon's stern emphasis that a king doesn't speak twice and that he should remain silent. Leon turned to Jin-Soo, urging him to explain the problem and the portals to him. Hari and Jin-Soo were overjoyed at the turn of events. Hari explained that this situation was a dungeon break, and when it occurred, a great demonic energy emerged from the portal, infecting the land. Seeds would not grow in such contaminated soil. Furthermore, they emphasized that this land was crucial for grain production, making it particularly critical. Leon, determined, asked if they had a solution. Hari explained that the dungeon needed to be defeated swiftly to cleanse the land. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Leon asked Hari to gather her people. He made it clear that as soon as the deadline set by the Phoenix Guild expired the following day, he would personally venture forth to defeat the dungeon. Hari couldn't believe what she was hearing. However, Leon emphasized that he needed the government's permission to proceed. Otherwise, he wouldn't be an honorable knight anymore. Youngwon, realizing that Leon's circumstances were even more challenging than his own, called the president to request permission, which was granted. As night fell, Hari informed Leon that all the preparations had been made. She couldn't help but wonder about the significance of the straw doll she was supposed to create for him. Leon elucidated that their land was infected and needed to be cleansed. Puzzled, Hari struggled to comprehend the connection between the straw doll and the land. Leon requested two things: the straw doll itself and that the women who crafted the dolls had to be mothers. Leon now wanted to see each doll that the women had made. With curiosity, Leon carefully examined each doll. But none met his expectations. He discarded them, throwing them on the ground or casting them aside. Eventually, an elderly woman approached, capturing Leon's attention with her beautifully crafted doll. Leon was amazed by its artistry. He asked the elderly lady how many children she had given birth to, and with enthusiasm, she replied, 12. Leon kissed her hand in reverence, took the doll, and placed it on an altar in the center of the grain field. He declared that the condition had been fulfilled. A magical circle materialized around Leon's hand as he retrieved a holy grail and began to pray. Even Youngwon watched in disbelief. From the holy grail emerged a golden globe, and the water within multiplied. Hari stood in awe as the water overflowed, and the sun's rays began to shine upon the land. The water sprinkled all around, rejuvenating the soil. Leon closed his eyes, allowing the magic to unfold. The splashing water flowed into the doll, and the guild's followers watched in amazement as the doll stood up on its own end, began to speak. Leon greeted the doll, addressing it as Mother Earth. The doll, its gaze fixed on Leon, responded, "It has been a while. Divinity had descended on this land." The doll looked at Leon and spoke, revealing that the land they stood upon was also contaminated by demonic energy. Leon nodded in agreement, explaining that while demons existed in this world, there was no deity to protect it. He expressed concern that the lowly beings of the Phoenix Guild would insult the divine presence. Damara, the name of the Mother Earth, tells Leon that ignorance and greed cannot always be judged as sins, as those are built-in characteristics of a mortal. Intrigued, the doll asked Leon about his intentions. Leon tells her that it was easy to blend in amongst the swordsmen, but the authority of a conqueror is divine. Hence, he conveyed his desire to lead the people, to teach the ignorant and lead them to the right path, until a new pantheon arose on Earth. The doll offered her unwavering assistance, always ready to help. Leon began to pray to the goddess, hoping that even if it wasn't her land, she could still heal and purify it for the people. The doll extended her hand, despite it not being the goddess's home, and allowed a drop of her divinity to fall. A radiant beam of light shot toward the sky, illuminating the initially gray plants. To the amazement of Hari, Jin-Soo, and their comrades, the plants started regaining their color. Leon commanded everyone to watch and learn, as this world was blessed with a deity. The rice fields stretched out, now radiantly golden as far as the eye could see. Fertility and prosperity emanated from the land, a testament to the tasks of living beings. Hari and Jin-Soo looked on in disbelief at the transformation, as Leon spoke about the eternal promise of fertile soil. Visible annoyance flickered across Yamwon's face. He angrily and frustratedly remarked that they shouldn't be blinded by plants created with magic, deeming them poisoned. Leon retorted that these were plants blessed by a deity and sternly criticized Yongwon for his flippant tongue, warning him not to insult the deity again. Yamwon swallowed his despair, the evidence of his failure apparent on his face. Yamwon's followers were unaware of their leader's failed plan, as Leon's actions had thwarted it. But Yongwon thought to himself that he can't let that happen, and wants to expose Leon's lies. Determined, Yamwon suggested that they first prove that the rice was not poisoned and hoped that Leon would cooperate. An expert evaluator was provided by Yamwon. The expert put on gloves and used magic to examine the rice. Astonishment washed over him as he observed the magical status window, which indicated that the rice was blessed and could completely heal curses. The evaluator, taken aback, announced his findings, that the rice was all rare ranked, and it cures tier 3 diseases and even cancer. Hari and Jin-soo were amazed by the revelation. Jin-soo called for a pot from the chief's house. And with a golden rice field as the backdrop, a small pot stood in the middle, cooking rice. Jin-soo tasted the rice and was pleasantly surprised. As his stamina and mana regeneration increased, he marveled at how such simple rice could be as powerful as 1,000,000 enhancers. Excitedly, Hari rushed over to Jin-soo, speaking with food in her mouth. Jin-soo commanded her to finish eating before talking. And once Hari swallowed the food, she eagerly shared her discovery. She explained that her curiosity led her to eat a beetle. And to everyone's surprise, she gained a buff as well. They concluded that the entire land had been blessed. Jin-soo ordered his people to gather as much rice and bugs as possible, as they would enter the portal with full buffs. The deity spoke to Leon, expressing that she had fulfilled her task there and needed to return. Leon expressed his gratitude, promising that he would never forget the love and sanctity she had imparted. As a final lesson, she reminded Leon to take care of himself as well. With those words, the doll toppled over, returning to its dormant state. Hari turned to Leon, seeking answers about everything they had just witnessed. Leon explained that it was divine power at work. Leon questioned whether there was no God in their world, but Hari unsure of the concept. Leon clarified that a good life and a good world are made with divine power, urging people to embrace this notion. Now that the soldiers were satiated and at their maximum strength, they were ready to enter the portal. One of Yeonwon's followers inquired if it was okay, considering they might interfere with the plan. Yeonwon glared angrily at the follower, insulting Leon and claiming that without him, the government would have complied with their demands. Undeterred, Leon, Hari, and Jin-soo set off towards the portal. Yeonwon had an idea, and reassured his follower, asking if anyone had ever entered the portal before and how challenging it was inside. The follower mentioned that the center of the portal was particularly difficult. The follower realized what he was getting at. Among the group, Hari was the only A-rank hunter. Yeonwon, viewing Leon as a mere supporter lacking combat experience, sinisterly anticipated the group's defeat. Knowing that a true monster lurked within the portal, one that couldn't be defeated by conventional means. Having entered the portal and arrived in the dungeon, our group proceeded cautiously. Jin-soo led the way with a shield, while Leon stood behind him in the middle, and Hari positioned slightly ahead. Leon understood that most portals would close once the task or boss inside was completed or defeated. He relished the idea of facing a boss, making Hari unable to tell him it usually required a team battle. Observing the skeletons strewn across the ground, he noted that there seemed to be more monsters than he thought. Hari replies that it was a characteristic of the dungeon. She explained to Leon that while the number of monsters decreases as you defeat them in most gates, in the case of skeletons or zombies, or even special demons in special cases, as long as the boss monster is alive, they'll infinitely respawn. Leon finally understood that it only ends if the boss is defeated. He hinted to her that this must be one of those boss dungeons, which she agrees with. Suddenly, a window materialized in front of Hari, indicating that it was on the verge of shattering, and they now had a time limit of 3 hours. The boss monster would gather its troops. Frozen in place, everyone felt the weight of the impending challenge. Jin-soo cursed Yeonwon, while Hari appeared somewhat nervous. In contrast, Leon remained unfazed. Their attention was drawn to a hand gripping a knight's helmet, its eyes emitting a haunting blue glow. On a rocky perch, a horse reared up on its hind legs, and thousands of skeletons loomed before the rock. Another window appeared, displaying a countdown of 2 minutes and 58 seconds to defeat the knight on the horse. The skeletons prepared to launch their assault, casting a shadow of doubt and lowering the group's morale. Seeking to boost their spirits, Jin-soo attempted to rally the group, emphasizing the need for concentration. A skilled woman armed with a bow activated a skill that allowed her to discern the number of enemy mages and archers, expertly commanding the group. Jin-soo directed snipers to eliminate long-range fighters and instructed tanks to block the advancing skeletons. Thousands of skeletons closed in, launching their relentless attacks. Jin-soo skillfully blocked their initial strikes, realizing their strength surpassed his expectations. Unyielding, he countered with swift and precise movements, shattering the skeletons with the prowess of a B-rank tank. Amidst the skirmish, Jin-soo noticed two mages casting spells behind him. Determined to divert their attention, he shouted loudly through the cave, drawing the mages' focus. Magical projectiles flew toward him, causing concern among his comrades, but Jin-soo managed to withstand the onslaught. Now, the Headless Knight stood before Jin-soo, emitting an aura of menace. Unfazed, Jin-soo locked eyes with the formidable foe. The knight, clad in black armor and surrounded by a blue aura, struck at Jin-soo. Although Jin-soo barely managed to block the attack, he was forcefully thrown back, landing amidst a pile of rocks. Worry gripped Hari as she witnessed Jin-soo's plight. Eager to assist him, a member turned to Hari, seeking guidance on the next move. With no time to wait for reinforcements, they needed to find a solution urgently. Hari approached Leon, hoping for his assistance. However, Leon remained calm, stating that a king doesn't intervene in insignificant battles. Perplexed, Hari struggled to comprehend Leon's words. He suggested that they find ways to build their own honor. Frustrated by Leon's apparent indifference, the group turned to Hari, seeking direction. Although she didn't fully grasp Leon's message, she realized that he had no intention of helping. With time running out, Hari's focus shifted solely to the Headless Knight. Unsheathing her sword, Hari made up her mind to defeat the boss. Encouraging the rest of the group to support Jin-soo, she fearlessly charged forward, cutting through the ranks of skeletons. She used a skeleton's head as a springboard, propelling herself higher, matching the level of the Headless Knight. Hari unleashed a powerful strike, aiming for the knight, but he deftly parried her attack with his great sword. Despite her disappointment, Hari understood the importance of separating him from the group. To her surprise, she noticed that the knight had discarded his head and was preparing to launch a devastating attack with his fist. Hari braced herself, attempting to block, but the impact sent her flying backward. Determined, she quickly regained her composure, only to find the Headless Knight standing before her once again. She had partially achieved her goal of separation. Apologizing to her comrades, Hari's range of skills were too large. Suddenly, a colossal explosion engulfed everything in sight. Yet, the knight managed to block it effortlessly. Unyielding, Hari launched another attack, driven to end the battle. Meanwhile, the knight blocked each strike, seemingly unscathed. Observing the knight's blade block the blunt of her attack, Hari notices the stance the knight was taking. As it swings its blade towards him, she closes her attacks just as the attack reaches her. But a voice interrupts the fight, shouting impressive. Leon stepped forward, clapping his hands, apologizing to the Headless Knight for underestimating him as a mere undead creature. Extending a noble gesture, Leon offered the knight the opportunity to engage in an honorable and noble duel. Leon walks towards Hari and the Death Knight, saying there was no need for more troops to be injured. "Let us end this fight with a noble duel between two knights," Leon shouted with pride. Hari, Jin-soo, and even a skeleton in their midst couldn't believe their eyes, wearing expressions of astonishment. The Headless Knight remained silent at first, but ultimately accepted the challenge. The skeletons lurking in the cave took a sudden interest in the captivating showdown between Leon and the Headless Knight. They approached slowly, their hollow eye sockets observing the unfolding duel with utmost attention. Leon, standing confidently before the formidable foe, spoke with a mixture of arrogance and respect. He summoned his sword, its gleaming blade catching the faint light, and issued a command to the headless knight to remove his helmet. The knight remained silent, his intentions veiled behind the armor. Leon confidently stated that he was certain the knight fought with a two-handed sword, which put him at a disadvantage. With unwavering determination, Leon enveloped his sword with a vibrant yellow aura, a manifestation of his skill and power. Hari, sensing an imminent clash, approached Leon and informed him that the headless knight would not be defeated unless he was decapitated. Leon, unfazed, asked if that detail was crucial to their victory. Frozen in astonishment, Hari replied that it was indeed important. She wondered how Leon planned to emerge victorious if he couldn't execute the decisive blow. The headless knight, realizing the significance of their conversation, handed his head to one of the skeletons serving him. Leon, taking a moment to explain his perspective to Hari, emphasized that the outcome of the duel would be determined by the knight's sense of honor. Leon and the headless knight assumed their respective starting positions, their focus unwavering. Leon spoke his name aloud, expecting a reciprocal introduction from the knight, but the knight remained silent. As soon as Leon announced the beginning of the duel and finished uttering his own name, the headless knight grasped his sword with certainty and charged forward, unleashing a powerful attack. However, to Leon's nonchalant surprise, he effortlessly blocked the strike, his skills far surpassing the knight's. Leon keenly observed the knight's movements, almost seeing through his intentions. With swift precision, he parried the attack, redirected its trajectory, and lightly touched the headless knight. Leon counted, 1. Readying his sword again, Leon pointed it directly at the headless knight, his voice resonating with determination. Following his self-imposed motto, he declared, "The second round begins now." The headless knight, undeterred, raised his sword, positioning himself once more for a formidable assault. Hari and Jin-Soo, observing the intense clash, grew increasingly worried about Leon's safety. Leon, ever the discerning critic, criticized the flawed footwork of the headless knight and swiftly brought him down. Jin-Soo and the rest of the group could hardly believe their eyes, their faces reflecting a mix of astonishment and bewilderment. Hari found the turn of events nearly unbelievable. Jin-Soo turned to Hari, seeking confirmation of what had just transpired. Hari, her voice filled with awe, explained that Leon had deftly altered the trajectory of the headless knight's sword at the precise moment their blades made contact, executing a daring crosscut. A maneuver that few would ever attempt. Undeterred by his defeat, the headless knight stood up again, his determination unyielding. Leon, displaying a mix of admiration and amusement, lightly touched him with the tip of his sword for the second time, once again counting the strike. 2. Leon instructed the headless knight to return to his starting position, acknowledging his opponent's resilience. The duel between Leon and the headless knight continued. Each clash of their blades a testament to their skill and unwavering resolve. The headless knight launched another assault, but Leon, maintaining an unwavering posture of honor and grandeur, accepted each attack with poise, expertly blocking and countering with ease. Leon, with a flick of his wrist, tossed aside the headless knight's sword and lightly touched him for the third time. Leon asked the knight if he wished to continue, offering him a chance to honorably yield. The headless knight, who preferred to fight as a knight rather than rely on magic, charged at Leon once more, launching a relentless series of attacks. However, Leon effortlessly parried each strike, his movements flowing with a grace that belied the knight's raw power. Leon didn't even need to exert himself, while the headless knight grew increasingly fatigued. Just before Leon touched him for the 10th time, he skillfully disarmed the knight, flinging his sword away. Leon commended the knight, acknowledging the improvement in his swordsmanship, and asked if he was starting to regain his memories from his past life. Affirming Leon's inquiry, the headless knight expressed his desire to continue the duel. He called upon one of his loyal skeletons, which held his detached head, and lifted it up, indulging in a moment of reminiscence about his past. He pondered how long he had fought without honor, lamenting the wasted years. The headless knight, filled with newfound purpose, declared that ending his life in this honorable manner would bring him joy. He lifted his head and offered it to Leon as a symbol of their duel's significance. Leon, filled with a mix of joy and respect, accepted the once headless knight's gesture. Placing his hand on the knight's head, he offered a prayer, a gentle plea for solace and rest. A bright light illuminated the cave, its radiant glow emanating from the knight and spreading throughout. Leon expressed his wish that if the knight had a god, that deity would grant his soul respite. And if no god accompanied him, Leon hoped that a benevolent force would guide him to the end of his journey. Leon expressed his desire to reunite with the knight again someday, perhaps at a festival in the halls of the gods. The light grew larger, enveloping the knight's helmet and armor, which dissolved into nothingness as the Death Knight lets out one final prayer, "Let glory lie with Leon Dragonia Lionheart." As the brilliance faded, the group found themselves back in the familiar surroundings of the rice fields. Hari, full of admiration, informed Jin Su that Leon had indeed kept his promise, resolving the matter through a duel. They pondered the nature of the magic Leon had displayed, its intricacies and origins. Hari remarked that Leon should have used that remarkable ability earlier in the battle. Overhearing their conversation, Leon explained that if he had done so, the headless knight would have perished as a necromancer. Hari greeted Leon, appreciating his wisdom and adherence to the principles of honor. Leon continued to elaborate, emphasizing that a true knight lives for honor, and honor is born from deeds. Deeds can only happen when one possesses the will to undertake them. The headless knight, in the end, received what he deserved, an honorable defeat that restored his lost honor. Leon wondered aloud about the whereabouts of the knight's loot, shifting the focus to their next objective. Hari, Jin Su, and Leon inspected the spoils of the duel, the knight's sword, a cloak, and a mysterious purple ball radiating with a vibrant violet aura. Hari and Jin Su were surprised to see the loot, where else Leon remained unimpressed. Leon immediately noticed the ball's significance and, much to Jin Su's dismay, destroyed it without hesitation. Everyone was stunned at what had just happened. Leon tells them that such items only brought chaos and destruction, harboring powers best left unutilized. Hari let out a deep sigh as she stood still, holding a cart filled with expensive food. Her face was filled with dread as Leon had only been on Earth for 4 days, yet a lot had happened that had caused Hari to lose all hope. The first problem arose when Hari approached Leon about taxes. Leon shouted at her, questioning how a king of another nation could be asked to pay taxes. She suggested he could pay using mana stones instead, but Leon dismissed the idea, stating that a king should not concern himself with such matters and that it was the responsibility of those beneath him. He told her to stop talking about coins, as it was not his job. Hari's face turned into a perplexed expression, thinking, "What the heck, man? I'm just trying to do my job." The second problem occurred when they gained new followers due to the introduction of divine power into the land. An elder asked how much they should pay in taxes, and with a serious face, Leon replied that they should pay him $19 trillion and 90% of their crops. He sarcastically remarked how generous that was, causing the elder to take a step back in fear. The taxes and cost of living were already overwhelming, and the 90% crop yield requirement seemed insane. But Leon interrupted, stating that as followers of the goddess, they shouldn't worry about being hungry. He assured them that welfare, cost of living, and food would be taken care of by his guild. Hari then showed them a piece of paper, saying that the rice had an insanely high appraisal value, revealing the exorbitant price of 150,000,000,000,001 for 80 kilograms of blessed rice, which surprised the elders. They praised Leon, realizing the enormous amount of money they could make even after the 90% tax deduction. Money ruled, or so they believed. However, the biggest problem was Leon's residence. Leon and Hari were in an apartment, and Leon started shouting about how it looked like they were in the midst of a battlefield. He complained that the place provided for him had no artwork at all. Hari could only remain silent as Leon vented his frustrations. In his rage, Leon demanded a luxurious bed, servants always on standby, and artwork that he could admire at any time. Hari had to spend countless hours until 2 a.m., calling 5-star hotels to find a suite room for Leon. She even had to kneel before him, begging him to go to sleep. Eventually, they compromised on having a painting or ceramic piece on display in the room. This brings us to the present, as Hari calls out to Leon, addressing him as Your Majesty. He tells her to come in, and Hari brings over the cart, asking if Leon is feeling okay. He assures her that he is alright, and she informs him that it's time for breakfast. Leon asks if she has eaten, and she tells him she hasn't yet. Leon advises her to eat whenever she can, and Hari takes note of his advice. A variety of delicious food is laid out on the table for Leon to eat. Hari looks at the glorious food and thinks about enjoying a sandwich later. But Leon surprises her by telling her to take a seat. Hari is shocked and tears up at the thought of Leon sharing his meal with her. She calls him Your Majesty and happily giggles as she sits at the table. However, Leon interrupts her, asking what she is doing. His intense glare confuses Hari, and he questions her actions instead of ensuring that the ribs are easy to eat. Hari explains that she thought they were going to share the food together, but Leon refutes that claim, stating that a country's king and peasants do not dine together. Upon hearing this, Hari falls silent and refrains from speaking further. Below the hotel, a black limousine is seen. Hari informs Leon that the Hunter Association has decided to provide him with support funding and resettlement aid. She assures him that while it may not be as good as a palace, they have made sure to make him comfortable. Leon responds, expressing his gratitude and stating that he shouldn't ask for too much as he is just a guest. He decides to leave it to them to take care of it. Hari turns around to ask him about the distribution of the loot, but Leon reminds her to take care of it herself. However, he mentions his desire for the cape. Hari nervously agrees to his demand. Soon, they arrive at a beautiful tall building. Hari informs Leon that they have arrived near the Hunters Association, and the building has a helicopter pad on the top floor for convenience. She remarks that it's not bad, but Leon simply grunts in response. He looks at a statue that resembles something you would put in your butt, wondering what the heck it is. They enter the building, and to Hari's surprise, someone greets them. She asks the person who they are, realizing that Leon being here was supposed to be a secret. The man says it's a coincidence and introduces himself as Park Jang-chan, a member of the Duyung Group and the director of Food of the Future. Hari weakly smiles upon hearing the name Duyung Group, as it is one of the 3 major conglomerates in the nation, basically a really wealthy company. She wonders why a director is waiting for them. Jang-chan opens his eyes and glances somewhere with an evil intention. He reaches out his hand to shake Leon's, remarking that he must be the famous survivor. Hari realizes that he had already known they were coming here. Jang-chan greets Leon as Dragonia Lionheart with an evil smile, but Leon remains silent. Leon shows a disgusted face, questioning why a mere merchant wants to shake hands with him. Later on, Hari and Leon are in a room. Hari explains to Leon that the Hunter Association will provide him with this place for a year. They will take care of the utilities and rent, and he can use room service and have cleaning maids. Leon stares out of the window and simply says, Hari feels relieved, knowing that information regarding survivors is top secret. Given the unknown intentions of Jang-chan, she is glad that Leon ignored the director. Hari turns to ask Leon why Jang-chan wanted to see him, and Leon replies that there is only one thing a merchant would want: profit. Hari repeats the word profit and soon realizes that it's because of the blessed rice in the Honam Plains. Due to the urgency of the situation, the management of information did not go smoothly. A streamer recorded the situation, and the Hunter Association requested for the video to be deleted. Hari looks at her phone and realizes that the person had re-uploaded the video under the account name Farmer Mr. Park. Another phone is shown, belonging to Jang-chan, who is cursing at Leon for being an arrogant little savage. He asks a worker if they are sure about the rice's effects since it hasn't been tested on humans before. The worker hesitates to answer immediately. A lady appears, informing Jang-chan that they visited the owner of the rice field to gather more information. She explains that a dying dog suddenly recovered fully after eating the rice, and people with various illnesses felt better and were cured after consuming it. She adds that all kinds of minor and major diseases throughout the village were cured as well. Hearing this brings a smile to Jang-chan's face, as the effects of the rice have already been proven. However, his expression soon turns to anger as he recalls Leon calling him a mere merchant. The lady informs him that they must obtain the rice at all costs due to its unlimited potential, and Jang-chan agrees. He slams his hand onto the table loudly, questioning how Leon dares to look down on them. His rage intensifies as he believes that Leon has messed with the wrong enemy just because of some fancy rice. He smirks, thinking of overpowering Leon with culture shock, as he dials his phone while calling Leon a savage. When Leon returned to Earth, he set himself 3 goals. The first goal was to spread faith in divinity. Earth had many gods and followers, but the most important aspect, divine power, was non-existent. As gods, they were supposed to embrace faith and bless the world. However, humans were falling sick, and the lands were becoming contaminated. To utilize divine power, a new faith was needed, hence the importance of more people believing in a new god. The second goal was to establish the Knights Templar on Earth. An organization of fighters using divine power did not exist. If the guardian of the Holy Grail, the King of the Lion Heart, was considered a demigod, then the Knights Templar were saints. They were the knights of the gods, wielding divine power and bringing terror to evil. The last goal was to eradicate all evil thriving on Earth by reclaiming divine power and raising the Knights Templar. As Leon stood near the window, he contemplated the need to spread faith and maintain balance and order within the pantheon to raise the Knights Templar. Though the idea of Knights Templar in this place seemed far-fetched, it didn't matter to Leon as fulfilling his duties was all he needed to do. Hari called out to Leon, informing him that someone had officially requested to meet him. Leon acknowledged this and suggested they hear the person out since they had followed the proper procedures. Later on, Jang-chan and 2 other men entered the room where Leon resided. Jang-chan thanked Leon for permitting the meeting, but Leon simply stared at him, deep in thought. His eyes held a penetrating gaze, as if peering into the man's very soul. Externally, Jang-chan wore a smile, claiming he had brought a small gift. Internally, he regarded Leon as a stupid savage and felt compelled to bow down to him for the sake of business. A large silver case was unveiled before Leon, and Jang-chan urged him to accept it, anticipating Leon's surprise upon seeing its contents. Jang-chan had brought a top-tier luxury item that someone like Leon could never dream of encountering. He sneered at the thought of Leon begging him to be his manager. Finally, Leon responded, stating that since Jang-chan had put in so much effort, he would take it. Jang-chan smiled happily at his reply, asking Leon to inspect it first, though he couldn't comprehend what was wrong with Leon's attitude. Annoyed, Leon instructed Hari to open it instead, as he lacked the energy to explain etiquette to Jang-chan. Hari approached the silver case and tapped it, causing steam and smoke to emerge. Startled, she observed its contents, while Jang-chan giggled. The open case revealed a collection of elite weapons, renowned possessions of the Duyung group. Jang-chan intended for Leon to choose whatever he desired. Hari asked if these weapons were unique ranked items crafted by the master craftsmen of the Duyung group. Jang-chan gleamed with pride, confirming that they were all of unique rank, the cream of the crop. Jang-chan explained to Leon that since he was becoming a hunter, these weapons would greatly assist him. Hari couldn't believe that Jang-chan was freely offering such extraordinary weapons. Her mind raced at the thought of these items, which couldn't even be purchased with money. She had only seen them on YouTube while she was a student. However, Leon declined the offer, considering these glorious weapons as low-ranked. Both Hari and Jang-chan were shocked to hear Leon regard these magnificent weapons so dismissively. Leon clarified that one cannot forge a good sword without the star's aura or a holy blessing. He questioned if they only used weapons to hunt beasts. Sweat trickled down Jang-chan's face as he pondered Leon's thoughts. He believed Leon meant that weapons should be sun-dried like peppers and receive prayers from a priest. Leon called Jang-chan unfaithful, but Jang-chan brushed it off as a misunderstanding. Leon then remarked that merchants were obliged to flaunt their items wherever they went. He conjured a sword in the air, considering the weapons Zhang Chan brought as suitable only for killing chickens and cows. Nonetheless, he was willing to give them a try. Zhang Chan and his men were astonished to witness Leon summoning an old sword into the air. They wondered if that was all Leon possessed and if they had gravely underestimated his weaponry. Zhang Chan expressed his desire to see what Leon's sword could do and called out to Hari, asking if she would be willing to try one of those weapons. Hari was taken aback by the request but sought approval from Leon, who nodded in agreement. Hari approached the silver case, contemplating her choice. Eventually, she grasped the handle of a sword and unsheathed it, revealing a sharp blade emitting a red aura. It was the sword she had admired for 4 years, crafted by the master craftsman Park Jinchul, nicknamed Dawn. She examined the sword closely, feeling its power. She realized that it truly absorbed the dense sun energies from the special gate for 10 days. Hari asked Leon if she could truly wield the sword, to which he questioned why she needed permission to swing a toy. Internally, Zhang Chan insulted Leon, calling him a bastard. Hari prepared herself to swing the sword at Leon's own blade. Flames began to flow around her sword as she focused her mind. Leon sat calmly, flexing his blade. She raised the sword high in the air, its flames erupting fiercely. With immense power, she swung down, releasing torrents of flames, declaring, "Here I go." However, her blade shattered into pieces, leaving Hari and Zhang Chan shocked. Hari stood frozen in disbelief as her sword broke, while Leon's blade remained unscathed by her powerful attack. Leon tossed his sword aside to keep it, expressing that it was worse than he had thought and a waste of time. He glared at Zhang Chan, informing him that he would limit the meeting to 3 minutes. Zhang Chan, like a submissive person, was unable to respond. He couldn't fathom how the Duyung group's strongest weapon had just shattered before him. Attempting to regain his composure, Zhang Chan bowed his head, along with the members of his group, to request the patent rights over the rice grains from Leon. Leon expressed his confusion, prompting Zhang Chan to swiftly assure him that they would pay for it. He stated that the group would offer 180 billion won, knowing well that the rice capable of curing cancer was worth more than that. Leon inquired if he intended to purchase the rice using money, while Zhang Chan believed there was no way Leon could grasp the true value of the rice and that he would go crazy once explained. Upon hearing Leon's response, Zhang Chan thought he had outwitted him, explaining that Leon would have to sign a contract with the Duyung group to gain a monopoly over it. Leon interrupted him, labeling him an imbecile merchant. Anger flared within Leon in the form of a glorious lion as he questioned Zhang Chan if he had dared to insult divinity. The immense strength of Leon, whom they called Big Daddy, made Zhang Chan and his group feel overwhelmed and powerless. They were like scared little puppies facing his intimidating presence. Zhang Chan trembled in fear as he witnessed a gigantic lion with glowing amber eyes, believing his life was about to end. Leon looked at him and called him a fool, stating that he had confessed his sins. Overwhelmed, Zhang Chan fell to his knees and admitted that he didn't fully grasp his mistake. With a wave of his hand, Leon released the immense pressure and asked Zhang Chan how ignorant and uncivilized he could be. Leon explained that the crops came from land blessed by the goddess Demira. The blessing was a reward for hard-working farmers who toiled in the fields, and it couldn't be bought with money alone. A grateful heart and faith were required as payment. Leon berated Zhang Chan, labeling him as a child and a deceitful creature who chased after profits while deceiving others. He then asks him why he wishes to possess the divine products from a goddess he did not believe in, but Zhang Chan could not reply as he clenches his fist. As night fell, Hari asked Leon if it was wise to let Zhang Chan go like that. She explained that although he was a lowly merchant, he held significant influence. However, Leon dismissed it, stating that he wasn't affected by someone as vulgar as Zhang Chan. He changed the subject and inquired if Hari had prepared what he asked for. Hari brought something over, mentioning that the association had called. Her eyes gleamed with hope as she asked Leon if he planned on taking the test, which would make things easier. Leon looked at her in surprise, questioning why he would need to be tested as a king. Shocked by his response, Hari asked why he wanted to participate. Leon revealed his intention to search for skilled soldiers and asserted that he would be the one to test them. Hari quietly acknowledged the difficulty of his request, but Leon insisted that she make it happen, bringing tears to her eyes. Suddenly, a voice announced the arrival of D-rank hunter Gu Daesung, who greeted team manager Kim Do-han. Do-han asked if Daesung was here for a retest, thinking that he sure works hard, but Daesung just laughed in response. Do-han inquired if he was aiming for a higher rank this year, and Daesung humbly replied that he would do his best. Do-han offered Daesung a spot on his team, but Daesung hesitated, considering the fact that he had been a D-rank hunter for 10 years while even those without talent had advanced to C rank. Do-han praised Daesung for his dedication and skills, predicting he would become an ace quickly. Daesung agreed, having worked hard for 10 years, but his determined gaze revealed his desire to continue and improve. He thought about his family and the difficulty of paying off debts with the earnings from dungeon raids. He needed to raise his rank to C in order to no longer be a burden. While lost in thought, Do-han informed him about a foreigner who caught their attention. They wondered if he was European or a foreign laborer, observing Leon, who had a royal appearance. A voice called out to Leon, grabbing his attention. Do-han approached and greeted him, but Leon remained silent, emitting a menacing aura. Leon asked why a peasant was speaking to him, almost sending Do-han to an early grave. Daesung observed the scene with shock. Do-han explained to Daesung that Leon had learned Korean in a peculiar manner, and Daesung agreed. Leon locked eyes with Daesung, causing him to tremble in fear. Leon emanated an intense aura, giving off a dominant presence. Do-han asked Daesung what was wrong as his body began to tremble. Daesung couldn't help but wonder what was happening, looking at Leon, who exerted immense pressure, making him feel small and insignificant. An employee called out for number 57, Gu Daesung, instructing him to proceed to interview room 2. Daesung acknowledged and prepared to go, but Leon continued to gaze at him while he interacted with the employee, thinking there was only one. Leon expressed his disappointment, stating that there wasn't even one person worthy of becoming his soldier. He walked away, considering that only low-ranked individuals or those who had recently awakened bothered to come here and take the test. An announcement called for number 77, Leon Dragonia Lionheart, to proceed to interview room 9. Leon, not expecting much, entered the room and found others inside. One man called out to Leon using his name, but Leon rebuked him, demanding to be addressed as Your Majesty. Initially stunned, the man then complied, addressing Leon accordingly. They asked Leon to place his hand on a measuring device for the test. Leon stared at the object the man was pointing to, contemplating its purpose. He gave it an intense look, wondering deeply. The instructor, noticing Leon's reaction, looked at his chart, but Leon called him a fool. Which made the man confused for a moment. Leon argued, questioning how a mere machine and peasant could test the honor of a knight. The instructor tried to explain that it was the device conducting the test, not themselves, but Leon remained upset, believing that only honorable knights and gods could measure knightly strength. The instructor was astonished and questioned why Leon had come there in the first place. Leon responded that he had come to find useful soldiers and criticized the judges, stating they were abysmal. The judges were shocked to hear that Leon was openly headhunting there. Leon inquired about the next test, and the judges informed him about a test at the gate. Leon expressed that real skills were demonstrated through consistent training and realistic situations. He agreed to participate in the test, surprising the judges. At the Soul Gate, a voice asked if anyone felt dizzy or unwell, mentioning that some people suffered from motion sickness when passing through the gate. The Soul Gate had already been cleared and was left open for specific situations. Daesung thought to himself that this year's strength measurement wasn't much different from the previous year. He looked around, realizing that he needed to do better to achieve a better result. A girl asked her older brother if this place was popular, but he advised her to turn off her phone. Daesung noticed them and recognized them as newbies. An old man beside him remarked on the pleasant air. Daesung assumed that they were all either D or C-ranked hunters. However, he turned around again and saw that Leon was also present. Daesung considered Leon a newbie, questioning whether everything would be alright. Leon, wearing sunglasses and exuding a cool vibe, caught his attention once more. As the group gathers in the middle of the fields together, they began by introducing themselves first before checking out their positions. Dae-sung introduces himself as this year being his 10th year as a hunter, and that he was a warrior whose main position was a dealer. The siblings were next to introduce themselves. The brother was called Taehoon, who had awakened this year and uses a shield and spear, whereas his sister was called Naein, who mainly used daggers and had been learning how to use the bow and arrow. Dae-sung shudders at the thought that they were beginners who had not yet found their main weapons. He asks them if they had ever gone to the training center. The siblings happily told him that they had gone to a training center for 3 months, hearing the shocks Dae-sung as it proves to him that they were complete beginners. Dae-sung then went to ask the old man. The old man introduces himself as Gangtae, and this was his 5th year. He had awakened but recently resigned. Dae-sung was once again afraid as he thought of Gangtae's experience as being little in relation to his age, and his weapon of choice was a gauntlet, making him a type of boxer or close fighter, which makes it hard to make up for the distance that a sword or spear could cover. Dae-sung then moves on to the last person, which was Leon. He asks if he was a foreign laborer or if he could speak Korean. With his hand on his chin, Leon simply stared at them in silence for a moment. He then announces to them that he does not fight, which confuses Dae-sung even more, as Leon explained to them that one cannot use a sword made for slaying dragons to kill chickens. Dae-sung was then confused and wondered when Leon learned to speak Korean. As the group travels through the forest together, they recall the test requirements, which were to hunt down 50 kobolds. They recall the instructor's words, who told them that sometimes a gnoll will pop up on the field, and if he considers it too dangerous, he will step in, so they didn't have to worry and just needed to focus on showing off their skills. Dae-sung was still feeling worried as he turns to look at his team members, with Taehoon showing a nervous look all around. Dae-sung wondered if the test was going to be okay because of what happened before. A flashback is showed where Dae-sung asked Leon if he didn't bring any weapon, which shocks the team. Naein then approaches Leon, calling him handsome appa, asking if he wanted to borrow her weapons, such as the bow and arrow, and wondered if he knew how to use them. Leon holds onto the bow and stares at it, asking her if she wanted him to use this as the king. Naein happily agrees and tells him that he could just return it once he was done with it. Rage and fury rose from Leon as he grips the bow tightly in anger. He slams the bow onto the ground, yelling out that the knight does not use a long-range weapon like a coward. The team was shocked to see this as Naein shouts out, "My bow!" Dae-sung could only look afar with a stunned face. Dae-sung was too stunned to speak as the team asked Leon what he was doing. The instructor chuckles and tells them that they should get going. Back to the present, Dae-sung continued to think that at this rate, the test might be a fail. Leading the group, Dae-sung turns to them to say that he knew of a location and asked if they wanted to go there to hunt. The siblings agreed as Dae-sung had more experience. Gangtae was fine with any decision, but Leon still remained silent. Taehoon then tells Dae-sung that there was a settlement at the end of the terrain, and that there would be a lot of kobolds there too. Dae-sung take note of his advice. But he explains to him that it was not a good idea to go to a settlement when the group is as small as ours. It would be impossible to find a way out once they were surrounded. Dae-sung wanted them to hunt the kobolds that lived in caves instead, as they would set the nearby grass or leaves on fire to get smoke into the caves, which will allow them to easily kill the cave kobolds. The siblings were impressed by Dae-sung's plan, as expected of an experienced person. Dae-sung laughs off their praises, saying it was nothing, but he knew that it was something not to be proud of. It was only because he had studied all kinds of tutorials and rating methods, dreaming of the day when he could enter a high-ranked gate, but the only gate he had gone into was the one they were in here. Passionate flames of determination rose as Dae-sung was determined to be promoted this time, wondering how long he was going to be a D rank for. Sweat drips down on Taehoon's face as he stutters the words in front, which catches Dae-sung's attention. He shouted kobolds, and it was seen that there were a group of kobolds right in front of them. The kobold spots their group and begins to rush towards them while growling loudly. Dae-sung quickly unsheathes his sword and tells Taehoon to block the incoming kobolds with his shield. Taehoon agrees with Dae-sung's command. The kobold was seen closely and growling loudly, but something smashes into its Scooby-Dooby-Doo face. Taehoon smiles at the fact that he had knocked down one so easily. calling the kobolds stupid. He continues to comment that it was easy to block the kobolds if they run towards him in a straight line. But Nain yells at him to look at the front. Taehoon was stunned by this and turns to look at her just as a kobold was seen flying towards him inches away. Taehoon screams as the kobold grabs onto him and slams him into the grab. Daesung sees this and calls out to Taehoon with concern. Fear was shown in Taehoon's face as the kobold was stabbed right in front of him. Daesung manages to save him in time, and tells him to not let his guard down as the kobolds may be weak but they were fast like the Flash, but Taehoon was still screaming like a little girl. The other kobolds were shot down with arrows, while another was punched right in its jaw. It was revealed that it was the old man Gangtae that was easily taking out the kobold with his fists. Daesung was happy to see this and shouts out "Great," telling his team that there were only a few left and they should keep going. The kobolds were all soon defeated by almost everyone in the team. The instructor tells them they did a good job. Taehoon was depressed and apologized to Daesung for having made a mistake just now. But Daesung assures him that it was okay as it was his first time. He praises Naein for killing 2 of the kobolds and Gangtae was making sure that no one was hurt. He tells everyone that they did a good job, which brought smiles to their faces. Daesung thinks that he could do it. But he turns around thinking that he was anxious at first, and that it wasn't a bad party. Except for just one person, which was Leon. Leon was still standing still and was looking curiously. Daesung questioned Leon about why he wasn't doing anything while they were fighting, which the siblings agreed with. The group complained about Leon just watching from the back, wondering if it was okay for him to be doing that. The instructor laughs nervously and assures the group that he would take that into consideration when it came to grading. The group was fuming with anger but were happy to hear that from the instructor. They then decided to go further into the forest as they would soon reach the cave. The group finally reaches a place where Taehoon calls out that it was there. The group had arrived at the cave. Taesung was impressed to see that there really was a cave. Daesung then instructs them to set a fire as he explained earlier on. A bunch of dried leaves and branches were gathered. The group had prepared it right at the entrance of the cave. Daesung took out a lighter and was about to get lit. But Leon approached him from the back asking him if this was really the best he could do. Daesung turns around and replies to Leon about what he was saying when he didn't help at all just now. But Leon continued to ask Daesung if that was the best he could do, and that he wouldn't repeat himself. The siblings began to grow nervous at the confrontation of Leon and Daesung. Daesung explained to Leon that he had used this method 3 times, and succeeded 3 times. Leon tells him that it was proof based on past experience and that it was not bad. But Leon looks at him and asked how he could depend on experience when he had so little experience. Hearing those words made Daesung angry as he lit the lighter, saying, "Whatever, you're younger than me, experience my ass," he tells Leon. The fire was lit and smoke began to fill the air. Daesung tells everyone to gather as the kobolds inside were coming out soon. The group agrees. The frontline members prepares for the incoming kobolds. Taehoon then calls out saying that they were coming. A group of kobolds were then seen running towards the entrance of the cave. They were growling loudly as they approached the entrance as smoke fills the cave. Naein shouts now, as she flexes her bow readying to shoot. A rock hits the kobold that run out of the cave, while another was hit by Naeon's arrow. Daesung smiles as he knew that his method wasn't wrong. Daesung tells them that it was great and that they should continue to get rid of the kobolds with this method. He begins to think about if they could get rid of a bunch of kobolds here, and kill a few gnolls out in the plain. But his thoughts were interrupted with an intense growling from somewhere. Hearing the growl sent shivers down Daesung spins as sweat drips from his face. He recognizes the growl and knew it was a gnoll captain. A gnoll was seen with red glowing eyes coming out from the trees while breathing heavily. The gnoll captain was the boss of the Seoul Station Gate, and its rank was above C. The gnoll captain lets out a fierce roar towards Daesung. Daesung began to felt afraid, wondering why did it have to appear now. The gnoll captain continued to let out an intense growl into the forest. Naein calls out to Daesung, who was frozen in fear. He soon snaps out of it and issues instructions to his team, telling them that Taehoon and him will both take on the gnoll captain, whereas Naein and Gramps will deal with the kobolds in the cave. As Daesung and Taehoon rush to battle the gnoll captain, Daesung thinks about his decision to need someone experienced in each team, as an inexperienced D rank going up against the Null Captain was an act of suicide. As both Taehoon and Daesung surround the Null Captain from front and back, Daesung knew that Taehoon may be a beginner, but he needed to trust him to hold out. But fear took over Taehoon as he looks at the Null Captain, who was staring right back at him. Taehoon raises his shield as the Null Captain roars straight into his face. But Taehoon was too scared and tears began to form in his eyes. Daesung sees this and calls out to him, telling him to get himself together, but Daesung knew that Taehoon was being too intimidated right now. Daesung sees that the Null Captain was about to strike Taehoon and knew that he wouldn't be able to block its attack like he usually would be able to due to the state he was in. Taehoon screams in pain as he was pushed to the ground from the Null's Captain hit, which causes the shield to fly away from his arm. Daesung shouts out to Taehoon with concern while shouting "damn it" in his mind. Taehoon was trembling in fear as he stutters trying to scream. Looking at the instructor, Daesung wondered why he wasn't doing anything, as he had told them that he would intervene once things got dangerous. He looks back at the Null Captain and Taehoon, and knew that at this rate Taehoon would be killed. Daesung shouts "damn it" and bites his lips. He makes a mad dash towards the shield that was lying on the ground. He equips the shield and shouts to Taehoon to get back. But the Null Captain didn't hesitate to prepare for another strike as it raises its sword in the air. It lands a heavy blow towards where Taehoon was, causing the ground to break from the impact of the attack. But the Null Captain was confused to see a shiny item coming out of the dust from its attack. Daesung had managed to successfully block the attack of the Null Captain just in time, saving Taehoon's life, but Daesung was struggling hard. He shouts out loud and pushes the sword of the Null Captain to the side with all his might, causing sparks. Daesung had managed to push the sword into the ground with the shield. But this action made the Null Captain mad as it growls out. It begins to start another attack as it raises its sword into the air once again. Daesung sees the incoming attack and raises the shield to block it, but he wondered if he could really block it. He thought about how they could have defeated the Null Captain if Taehoon had pulled himself together. But at this rate, they were all going to die. But a voice speaks out saying not too bad. A hand appears and catches the incoming sword with just 2 fingers. Leon appears between the Null Captain and Daesung while holding the sword with one hand and his another hand in his pocket. Absolute Giga Chad, guys, he tells Daesung to try again. Daesung was confused at what he was seeing and asked Leon what he was saying, wondering if he had really stopped the Null's Captain attack with 1 finger. Leon looks at him and tells him to raise his shield to face the Null Captain again. He then questioned Daesung that since he did it once, why couldn't he do it again? "Now get up and raise your shield," said Leon. Daesung was hella confused by Leon's words. Leon then tells him to block its attack and counterattack. "Hurry!" Leon shouted. Both the Null Captain and Daesung were confused by Leon's action. Daesung yells at Leon saying why couldn't he see the situation they were in and that they were all in danger. But Leon yells back at him with his eyes shining bright like a diamond, calling Daesung an impertinent peasant. "How dare you defy me after witnessing the glory of the King of the Lion Heart guidance?" Leon continued to scold Daesung, telling him that for a Templar like Leon to guide a peasant soldier is an honor to be passed down for generations, and that he didn't even thank Leon for the grace. Even the Null Captain was wondering what the F was going on right now. Leon continues to shout at Daesung, asking him to raise his shield, block and counterattack. But Daesung was wondering what he had done wrong as he holds onto his shield. He looks at the fierce-looking Null Captain and knew that he had to do something in order to survive. The Null Captain growls as it looks in Leon's direction. And begins to attack Leon's direction. RIP in the chat, guys. Leon sees this and simply remained silent. He then lets out a fierce yellow aura and asked, "Does this rabid dog have a death wish?" The Null Captain whimpers upon seeing the big dick energy of Leon's. It trembles and growls quietly as Daesung was looking confused. But its sword was soon reaching for Daesung as he raises the shield to block the incoming attack. Daesung had manages to block the attack. But he realized that the attack was strong and that he had almost dropped his shield. "Fool, you wield a shield, so how can you only fight with strength?" shouted Leon. Leon continues to shout at him, telling him not to face an opponent stronger than you head on, but to deflect its attacks and look for an opening. How will you succeed in the battle by only defending? Your opponent is not a scarecrow, it's a living being, a beast that can learn. Leon continues to yell as Daesung was still blocking the Null's captain attacks. He shouts at Daesung to use his head to think, but Daesung was having enough trouble with blocking and asked what he was supposed to do. Leon kicks him in the back of the leg, causing Daesung to barely dodge the attack as he tells him not to look away from his opponent. Daesung could see that a few inches of his hair had been cut off by that attack, and knew that he would have died if he had blocked that head-on. Focus, do not let your potential rot, use your potential, you can do better. Leon shouted. Daesung couldn't believe that he had potential, as he thinks of himself as just a talentless D rank without even a single exclusive skill. He continues to look at the Null captain with his shield raised, thinking that it was impossible. That there was no way he would suddenly have potential just because Leon thinks of him that way. But determination soon filled his soul, as Daesung felt that he could do it this time. The Null captain lets out another fierce roar as it swings its sword. Daesung lets out a fierce roar as well, thinking that he could do it. I can do it! He screams in his mind, as the sword was inches from his shield. The attack causes a crack in the shield as it slides across it, making sparks fly. Daesung had managed to deflect the Null captain's attack to the side. Daesung stares in disbelief that he had blocked the Null captain's attack. He was soon filled with happiness and yells out that he did it. But a fist was soon landed on his face, making him think, WTF? The Null captain had just sucker punched Daesung straight in the face, sending him flying away. Leon stood there and noted why he couldn't see the full picture. Daesung laid on the ground unconscious as Leon tells him that he still had a long way to go. Daesung's evaluation results for this year was AD. Back in the real world, a voice asks, did you know for the beginning? Leon replied to the voice saying that there was no way a warrior like you would be some mercenary. The voice belongs to the Korean Hunter Association president called Oh Kang-hyuk, who chuckles at Leon's reply and tells him that he had even used a bewitching mask to disguise both his face and body. Kang-hyuk asks Leon that since he took part in the evaluation, did he get what he wanted? Leon replies somewhat and tells him that he had a soldier candidate at least, and that there was no need to be anxious as he didn't intend on going overseas. Kang-hyuk was surprised to hear this. He closes his eyes and tells Leon that he knew exactly what he was thinking and that he was a little nervous because of the power that Leon had displayed, which was so amazing. Kang-hyuk recalls the situation earlier when he witnessed Leon with the Null captain. Leon looks at the Null captain and tells it that it was a dirty bastard that didn't even succeed in becoming a human. How long do you intend to stare at my esteemed face, said Leon. He then bitch slaps the poop out of the Null captain with just one finger. Kang-hyuk chuckles at that memory and remarks that Leon had treated the monster as if it was a toy. But Leon replied saying that it wasn't even worth being a toy. Kang-hyuk then changes the topic about Leon wanted to start a guild, and that they would help. As Leon was already aware that there was nothing better than fame when he wants to establish an organization of people, and that there weren't many ways to become famous in this day and age. Kang-hyuk then talks about a gate that turned red in Cheongju because of a failed raid. And that for a year, no one has been able to clear it. To either destroy or obtain the Jewel of Wisdom. That is being guarded by the boss of the Red Gate. Jagged Spinner. This is a flashback at Cheongju Sports Complex Gate, when the first team called KPP Guild raided it. A group of hunters are gathered and seen looking around. A member of the group calls out to his brother, seeing something in front of them. It was a modern civilization, perhaps a more developed civilization than Earth. A female member noted that it was cool as the gate was that of a future world. The man stated that since there were fantasy and Miram worlds, why not a future one? A member tells the guildmaster that it was more cyberpunk. Guildmaster complains about it being a pain and that they needed to revise their plan, starting from the organization of the party. Another member agrees as they had arranged their organization thinking that they would be fighting against a few strong opponents. The guildmaster looks around and spotted a building. He tells the group that they would be using that building over there as their base camp. Since it was high up, they would have a good view over everything. The group then enters the building. The guildmaster asks Hoyle if he sees anything, but he tells him that there wasn't anything at all, no NPCs or monsters. The guildmaster then asked about the Jagged Spinner, which was supposed to be the boss, but Hoyle tells him that he couldn't see them either. The guild master calls it strange and thinks about how a city this big didn't have any people or monsters. But then he thinks it was good, as it meant that they weren't up against a resistance army or some evil authoritarian army. He then calls for his guild members' attention and explains to them that since they've entered the gate, they still lack information about Jagged Spinner. He tells them to keep a lookout on the surrounding area, and that they'll select an expedition team to map the area. But a sudden laser appears that blows up the guild master's head as he talked halfway. Hoyle was shocked to see blood being splattered around as he calls out the guild master's name. The other members could only stare as blood and pieces of the guild master's head was splattered everywhere. A machine with a railgun filled with electricity was seen. The members yell out that they were being shot at and needed to find cover. The machine reveals another barrel of a weapon and points it towards them. A huge explosion is seen from above at the building. The members all began to panic and tried running away from the explosions. But some of them were hit by the explosions as Hoyle calls out to one of his members being hit. Shit, Hoyle shouts as he thinks about how the guild master, who was in a rank, couldn't even react in time. What the hell is this monster? As Hoyle takes cover behind some rubble, he shouts that they were gonna die at this rate, and if they had found the location of the enemy. The member close by tells him 3 o'clock, but couldn't measure the distance because of the sand dust. She then tells him that the building wouldn't hold on for much longer. This prompted Hoyle to tell everyone to fall back in order. He shouts to everyone to hurry outside as the building was going to collapse. While running to escape from the building, the female member asks Hoyle about the guild master's body, but he tells her that they would get it back once they've recuperated. He then asks her to go ahead and check the exit. She agrees and dashes forward ahead of the others. As she reaches the exit, she turns around to tell the others that she doesn't sense anyone's presence here, and that she thinks the exit's safe. She soon exits the building with ease. But she felt something was wrong and stopped running. She touches her neck, which showed a faint red line around it. She wondered why her neck was itching, when all of a sudden, red lines appear all around her. Hoyle and the others soon reach the exit as well, but could only see female member's body torn to shreds. Hoyle was devastated as he calls out her name, Hyori. He then notices that there were wires covered in her blood. He wondered since when were the wires covering the city. Hoyle then shouts out the command to sever all the wires, and that they had to get out of here. He tells his members to imbue their weapons with mana to cut through, as the wires were normal. While thinking, who was it? Is there really only one enemy? How long has it been watching us? He wondered as they continued to cut the wires around them. But something was watching them through what looks like Iron Man's screen. A spider-like machine was seen climbing on the side of a building. It sends out a blue tentacle towards the guild members. Hoyle looks up and spots it inches away from him. Multiple explosions were then seen at where the guild members were. Their screams and shouts of pain were heard loudly in the air. Blood was splattered on the ground as screams were still heard. Hoyle was gasping for air after the aftermath of the explosions. He looks around the entire and sees the dead bodies of his guild members, and his arm had been torn apart. He shouts out, "Show yourself! You piece of shit!" Soon a machine appears in front of Hoyle from amidst the destruction of the explosions it caused. Hoyle was shocked to see the machine and wondered if that was Jagged Spinner. The machine stares at him and soon memories were recalled. A female scientist was seen handing a piece of machinery to the machine, telling it that if it had this, it would still be able to fight even without ammo. The machine soon pulls out the same machine part from its memories. Hoyle screams at the machine, calling it a monstrous bastard and that it had killed his members. But the machine wipes out its blue tentacles laser, swinging it towards Hoyle and cutting him into pieces while saying, "Yap P, protect this city." Soon there were updates to Chongju Gate. Its first raid team made up of 58 KKP hunters had no survivors, so did the second and third, and soon the gate boss Jagged Spinner clear difficulty was promoted to red. Chongju Gate raid was now on indefinite pause. A hammer is seen landing on the ground heavily. A man with braided hair carrying the hammer talks about how the weather here was as shit as the one he saw on video. The female in front of him tells him that they shouldn't enter the city, as there was a high likelihood of jagged spinner appearing the deeper they were into the gate. A group of people wearing the same clothes appear. Its leader with white hair tells them that as they had previously agreed, the cloaks would be taking the Jewel of Wisdom, while the rest of the rewards, such as the 60 billion, will their guild share. The two guilds began to face each other off. They were the two new groups that had entered the Chongju Sports Complex gate. The braided hair man and lady belonged to one of Korea's top 10 guilds called the Golden Lion. It was their guild master Hwang Jiamcheol who was S rank, and lady was the vice guild master called Hwang Yunha who was a rank. They had brought 47 of their guild members. The white hair man belonged to the Magic Tower and was called Guild Taesung, who was close to S rank, and had brought along 48 mercenaries. But there were other people. Belonging to the Korean Hunter Association was Han Hari, who was a ranked, but is seen pouring tea into a cup, asking for His Majesty to please give it a try. Leon takes a sip of the tea, and tells her that it was not bad, and wondered what the tea was called. Hari stands behind him with a depressed look and tells him that it was barley tea, Your Majesty, as Leon was seen sitting on a piece of cloth on top of a piece of ruble sipping the tea, as an additional individual. The Chongju Sports Complete Gate 4th Raid Team operation begins. Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more Manhwa recaps.